right, everyone, I'm here with Cassandra Rubino today. She's going to be talking about her experience with her business in 2021. She actually was able to make $80,000 and $123, so $80,123, right, in
Yeah.
2021. And she's going to be sharing with us a little bit more about her business and then what helped her be able to achieve that level of success in her business. Right? So it's going to be great.
Yeah.
It would be wonderful if you could start us off first with kind of what your niche is, right? So some people have background about that.
So my niche is to help vegans and plant-based wannabes get to their desired fitness goals without using fad diets or skinny teas or anything like that.
Awesome. I love it. And so when you first got started with your business, right? I know we talked a little bit on one of our calls with some of what you were going through, right? Where you used to teach a lot of CrossFit classes, right? And
Yeah.
all of that. Can you talk about the transition of kind of where you first started to getting your business up and running and then to where last year you were able to make over 80K in your business?
So I have been a fitness instructor since I was 19 years old, so almost 16 years. And I always thought that, if I just get more clients in the gym and teach more classes, because I was also teaching CrossFit, that then I'd get this sort of income that when you Google personal trainer, it says you can make up to $100,000. And I'm like,
Right.
okay, so I guess I just have to run myself ragged. And I was always down for it because I
Yeah.
can work out in between and all that. And then it really was the pandemic, like literally 2020, where I had a severe panic attack about having to continue that lifestyle. Like being able to take a break and like sleep for 3 months was something I haven't done since high school. And I think that I didn't know if I could continue living that life of 6 a.m. work to 8 p.m. work and like doing that day in and day out. So I had the idea towards the end of 2020 of like, what should I do?
Right.
How do I sustain something that I love, fitness and nutrition and helping people, but do it in a sense that like I don't have to work that hard. And so 2021, excuse me, is when I finally was like, okay, let's finally figure out how to do this. Because I would see people that I knew personally
Yeah.
that used to work in the gym and weren't really working in the gym anymore, but they still were, but like they were making so much more money helping people online. But I just was like, and this is funny because I told one of my girlfriends this, and I thought that like Instagram personally reached out to them and was like, you should really do this. And that's what I thought it was. And I didn't know it was self-driven. And because I feel like I'm a very charismatic person, like I
Yeah.
can get to know these people on a different level on Instagram, and they might live in Canada or they might live in Florida or they might live in Texas. Whereas like I'd never meet these people otherwise.
Yeah.
So I was very like, oh my God. At the time I was using ads and I just didn't feel like that was like helping me build a personal relationship with people.
Sure. Yeah.
And so when I found you, I was like, I want to be able to really like have my personality come out and people feel like, oh, I want to work with her based off of like what she's talking about, what her storytelling.
Awesome.
And that was really what helped me in 2021 is like being able to learn how to connect with people and not just be about, oh, if you lift these weights or if you eat this food. And personal relationship was probably the catalyst to being like, okay, this is helpful.
I love that. I love that. And I think too the takeaway too from this is I feel like a lot of people feel like they have to be this other person to get
Yeah.
clients too. And you don't really need to
Yeah.
at all. You need to be more of yourself because we have clients that range from anywhere. You describe yourself as very charismatic, but we also have some clients that are more, I would say, kind of very chill and zen vibe
Yeah.
too, right? That are still getting clients. So
Right.
it's about understanding how to use your story to attract clients and then also having a process for that too.
Right.
Awesome. So with that in mind, what are 3 things that you feel like helped you then last year to be able to make that much money in your business?
I would say the first one, which I was very hesitant about, and I know that you knew that, is like just direct outreach.
Right.
Is like, I was thinking like, oh, I just posted this amazing post, like everybody's gonna come. And it was like, nobody was coming. And not that nobody was coming, but
Right.
like, you think like, this is gonna be the post. And then it was like, no, well, you have to actually like go and reach out to these people. And I think personally in the personal training world, that's something that I also struggled with, is like going up to, when I worked at a commercial gym, it's going up to people on a treadmill and being like, hey, so you want to go to training with me? Like, that was always uncomfortable. So once I realized that it's okay that people don't want to talk to me,
Yeah.
and it's okay that people don't respond, and some people are like, oh, I'm not interested, I already have a coach, or whatever it is, whatever
Right.
the no reason is, it's okay. There's billions of people on this planet. So direct outreach, would say, is number one that helps me.
I think
In like,
too, people have, to speak on that, I think people have a bad perception of it too. People are already interested in you. Like we talked about this. You have all these people liking your posts, and yet you aren't actually messaging and engaging with these people who clearly like what you're posting. You know what I mean? And so I think people are like, oh, I don't want to disturb people when they already like you.
right.
You know? And a lot of people, there are people who will be like, I'm just not interested. But then there's other people who will be like, oh, wow, Cassandra reached out to me today.
Right.
Like, it's like you're a mini celebrity for that person. You didn't even realize it, you know?
Yeah. And I've gotten some of that, like, that response sometimes. Like, oh my God, I liked your post and you were responding to me. And I'm like, it's so fun to be like, oh, well, I didn't know I was late to the party. Like,
right. So I think there's this negative perception about it when literally a lot of these people already love you. You know?
Right. And you don't know. You're just posting your story and like not knowing that it's resonating with people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that would be number one that helped me in 2021 really kind of like just settle into being comfortable with being uncomfortable. That saying, you know.
Yeah.
Number two is like really having like a theme for me. Like I'm always like, okay, well, what do I want to talk about this month or this week that's going to not seem like I'm talking about the same thing over and over again. And like when I would talk about different things, then people would share that on their story, and then I would then reach out to them, and then it would be form a relationship. Even if it didn't become a client, like then they would get my freebies, or they would, still interact with me. So that was something that, again, like I didn't use Instagram as that type of platform before, or social media in general. And then I would say the third thing that helped was just being consistent. And when I wasn't consistent, and for whatever reason, like just either being I need to take a break for a second, or personal things or whatever, then that anxiety starts to set in of like, I'm never gonna get a client again.
Right.
And then when you pick it back up and you start being consistent, and you just like put down, like literally just keep doing the same thing that you've been doing, then you're like, oh, I don't know why I was so anxious about it.
Right. But the anxiety, this is a good point. The anxiety doesn't dissolve until you do the things either. Right? Like, I think a lot of people, what they're like, oh, I don't feel good, so I'm not going to, so they avoid the stuff more. And then they expect that feeling to somehow disappear.
Right.
But it won't. Right? You have to keep doing the things and showing up like you're talking about, and then it dissolves. Right?
And then it seems like, like the universe is like then pulling people out of the woodwork that you weren't even like, you weren't even really talking to,
Right.
or people who decided, a couple months ago that they weren't able to, hop on
Invest,
the phone with you
or
or
then
invest,
and then
or
suddenly they're ready, right?
yeah, and you're like, what? Like, you okay? But I would say consistency is key. And as a fitness or nutritionist or any of like the healthcare professional platform, we're always talking to our clients about consistency.
Right.
And we're always telling people like, yeah, you're not going to lose 10 pounds in a day. Like, you have to be consistent. Like, you have to keep putting those things. And like, talking to my clients about that and then being like, oh, I have to do that too. Is like, duh. But that was probably the biggest takeaway too, is like being consistent. And like, when you get discouraged, it's okay to be discouraged, but like, let's go back to the basics and, figure out how to get back to where you were. And that's okay. And I think a lot of people get discouraged by that. A lot of online entrepreneurs get discouraged by the no's or the non-consistency that they have in their own like feet towards being better, and so they give up.
Right.
So I would say that those are the three things for me was that helped me, like, that I never in my wildest dreams, like, I was a struggling fitness person since I graduated college, like since the day. I'm like, man, I really just wish that I could make a livable wage off of this career that I decided to have.
And you've totally done that, and I'm super excited to see what you're going to do in the future even more now. Truly, I mean that.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about it. I think this has shown you that you can do it. I remember when you came to the call and you're like, I did this, Natalie. I couldn't believe that I had done this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. With that in mind, where would you like to see your business go next?
Honestly, I would love to. So my company is called Muscles by Plants, and I officially, actually last week, became an LLC. So awesome. I feel like now I'm officially official. And I really would love to have like, other trainers who work underneath me, and like they get their own clients, and like be able to have somebody who takes the phone calls, or we can share the calls together and become this entity of, oh, I need to go work with Muscles by Plants. And it doesn't necessarily have to be me. And that's why I didn't name it after myself, because I would love to just have an opportunity for people to get one-on-one coaching, group coaching, buy, a fitness program from me, buy like a small like nutritional thing with me, and like be this humongous thing. And that's what sometimes, because I'm a Pisces, so I'm a dreamer. I'm very much like, I dream too far out, and then I'm like disappointed that this is where I'm at. But that doesn't mean that I don't still want that to happen. I think like in the next year or two, I would love to be able to hire one or two people to.
I think you can make some shifts towards that in this year, 100%, right? And start actively working towards that goal. I really think what can happen is we can get you a team, right? We can have you offering a few different things too, It might not be exactly the big vision, but it's working towards that massive vision. And one thing that I love to even remind myself about with goals is, well, two things. One, it's going to be hard anyways if you make them small or you make them big, so you might as well make them big, right? And then two, the other thing is, even if you didn't fully hit the goal, because I've set goals that I don't hit, just by making the goal bigger, I probably made decisions that made me get closer to that goal.
Yeah.
If I had made it smaller, like, okay, cool, but I probably got even bigger than I would have if I would have made it what's a realistic goal, you know?
Right. Yeah. And I mean, even the goal of where we are right now, like us being on this call was a goal, right? Like, it was a goal to become an online trainer or online person that has a business that I don't have to physically have to put in 60 hours at the gym.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to make $1 million when I start. And like, obviously it didn't get there, but you know, I made income that I've never made in
Yeah.
my lifetime. And if I didn't sign up, if I didn't take the leap to sign up with you, I would have gotten somewhere, but I wouldn't have gotten to where I felt comfortable enough to be able to take care of myself, go and take care of my mother, go on an actual vacation. Like, it was something, again, that if I didn't take the small leap to the bigger goal, then I would have never gotten here.
I love it. I think that's a great note to close on. So thank you so much, Cassandra, for doing this
Yeah.
interview. I've loved it. I'm sure it's going to be valuable to other people too.